Hi guys, welcome back. We've got another review for you today. This one is pretty high profile. We've got the DJI Phantom 4 and we're going to pitch it against the DJI Phantom 4 Pro Plus, if you can say all of that in one breath. It's going to be an extremely quick review. We've only got a couple of hours to test these things before I have to give one back. So again, we're going to base it on whether the Pro 4 Plus is worth it. It's about £500 more. It does have a much better camera, so they say, and it's got a built-in screen. But is that enough to, justify the expense? It's going to be extremely quick. Whatever I test, you're going to see it. Any problems, you're going to see that too. It's extremely windy, so it might not even fly. That's pretty bad. But I'd imagine they're both going to fly exactly the same because they've got the same modes. It's just one has sensors on the left and right. But we'll talk about that a bit more. Well, here we go. Okay guys, so here's a quick test. We're just going to turn both drones on, see how they start up, what the process is, and whether it runs smoothly or not. So we're going to start off with the Phantom 4 standard, we might as well call it standard. And the app's on. Let's turn the drone on. See what happens here. It says enter device, RC is now connected, it says. Excellent, and we're going to enter that. I'm just going to do one thing, just so I don't show everyone where I live. I'm not saying you're not all welcome for a cup of tea, but safety reasons. So we're now looking at everything started up really well, really quick. How many satellites are already on? 10 satellites. It says I've got strong interference. Just double checking for you that the screen brightness is on maximum. So this is a Nexus 5, so it's a good phone, bright phone. We're going to move on to what really is whether we going to check now to see whether this thing is worth the upgrade. Just turning on the screen first, and here we go. DJI looks cool. If you can see any fingerprints on the screen, then that is most likely because it's got a screen protector on. It may be less fingerprint magnety, a bit later on, but at the moment there's quite a lot of fingerprint magnets on that. Let's have a look. Let's get some sound on here, and the screen's powered up really nice. It's really good. Let's turn the drone on. It says enter device, but it doesn't say any device is ready. We've got the same sound, if you like, the sound of things turning on. Right, so let's go to the view. So now we've got both on. Let's just get rid of that and see how long it takes for live view to come on. So some of the sensors are already saying on this one that we're camera's really not focusing very well. I have shot this with a Galaxy S7 Edge because I just didn't have time to get everything out. So this drone is still waiting for a signal. So let's talk more about this one. The reason for the upgrade is because my Phantom 3 had a lot of artifacting on screen which I didn't like, and well, there you go. It's come straight up. Oh, that one's just turned on as well. We'll come back to that in a minute. I used to get a lot of artifacting I didn't like on the screen, and I just thought, and there you go again. So it looks like this bugger with the artifacting hasn't gone away. So I've upgraded from Phantom 3 Pro to Phantom 4 now, and clearly you can see artifacting. People think it's my device. It's not. I've used 3 or 4 different devices on my Phantom 3, and if it's happening still, it's a software bug. DJI, you need to pay attention and you need to look into that. Looking at this screen, and holy, if you can see, sorry, let me put this back in focus. The screen on the left, which is the one on the DJI Pro Plus, is much sharper. And also it is much brighter. I would probably agree with their claim that that is twice as bright. And yeah, it definitely looks really bright to me. The field of view, they're both, the cameras, the drones are pretty much next to each other. Now if I can block the shadow and show you the field of view. The field of view on the left is a little bit tighter. Actually, it's quite a lot tighter. So you can read up about the change in the field of view, but That's probably slightly better because when you're droning, for example, people, you don't want to get that close to them either. So then, you know, that's a positive. But holy, this screen, if this bloody phone looks absolutely excellent. I guess we need to get them in the air. Right guys, so I did say we were not going to fly it because it's too windy, but we're going to fly it anyway. What's a drone test without flight? Hopefully everything goes well. Of course it's working on it, I break it, I buy it policy, so we'll do the Phantom normal one first, because if it breaks it's only 7 quid. So yes, really windy if you don't believe me, look at the wind. But yeah, they've got a job to do, we pay money for them to do a job, so let's find out if they can do it. The only thing I would say is I'm going to shoot this in 1080p. The reason it's going to be in 1080p is because when you shoot 4K and then most of you are going to view it back in 1080p, it creates compression and more jaggedy lines. So for 4K, and I can record it in 4K, but you're all 90% of you are going to view it in 1080p. We're just wasting all of that, and there's some compression and artifacts that happen, and that's not the true image. So we're going to stick with 1080p on both of them. Forget about all this slow motion and everything. We just want to see the sharpness and detail that comes out of the camera. So I'll let you guys compare. I'm going to try and frame them. Two similar scenes. We're going to let them sit in that similar scene for about 10-15 seconds, just so you can see. We are now currently in the air with the Phantom for the standard. Oh, and it tells me no signal on the top left. I'm losing the image. It's not that stable, considering I'm only 30 meters away from me in beginner mode, because the wind is so bad. I'm a little bit regretting, because taking off was a bit of a mess. So coming down is going to be equally a mess if I hit that breeze. But as you just saw there, a bit more artifacting, no signal. Oh, that's worrying. And it's back. Okay, we are currently in the air. We've got a warning, large wind velocity, fly with caution. That really fills me with confidence. We're at the same height of 30 meters. What you may notice is, on this drone you have to actually autofocus, which could be something that people forget to do. So let's do that. Yeah, you could get caught out with that. It's to give you a slightly better depth of field when you're a bit closer to subjects. So as you can see, I've clicked on the tree, which is over there, but let's try and go a bit further, just so we know. I'm probably not that far anyway. So that is scene 1. Moving over, I've got to say I don't see any of that artifacting that was present in the Nexus. Oh, I'm getting a warning that just came up saying I'm too close to something underneath. I don't think I am close to anything underneath, so we're going to put that down to a we're going to ignore that warning. So trying to frame them up the same as before, and what I do think is this screen is absolutely brilliant. I have not seen a single piece of artifact yet, and again, it says we're dropping in altitude. Hopefully you're going to go back yourself, because that's why we pay so much money. Right. So yeah, all in all, looks really good. The joy of landing the last drone was not fun. It took me a good couple of minutes to land it, because I'm trying to land in my garden surrounded by trees. Really bad decision. Anyway, as you can see in the air, and as you can see from the screen, things look absolutely great. Okay, so that was a pretty quick test. Both drones, we only did one battery test, not even a battery. We were in the air for 10 minutes per drone, maybe even less for the Phantom 4, because I got in place really quickly. So on the face of things, what would I buy? Right now I'd buy the Phantom 4 Pro Plus, if only they could get a shorter name for it. That is because the live view feed was much better. Screen is absolutely awesome, and it didn't have any of the artifacts that the Phantom 4 standard had. And when I mean artifacts, you see the green and the pixelation that occasionally happens. You all know what artifacts are. I don't know why I'm telling you, but I didn't get any of those on the Pro Plus screen, and I shouldn't, because it's their official product. So if I ever do, then you know what they're playing at. That is the one they need to roll out the firmware and all the software and everything for first. So we'll have a quick look at the footage, and then I'll give you a 100% decision which one I'm going to buy, and maybe I'll help you out as well, because if the video footage isn't much better, is it worth it? And the one thing also to note was that I had to focus on the Pro 4 Plus. If you take off and you forget to, just to get that depth of view to make it a bit more cinematic is great. But if you go a bit higher and you forget to focus to the ground, then you might just be flying around up there, everything's slightly out of focus. That would be pretty frustrating, and things like that you could definitely forget. You could definitely forget to do that. Say you're shooting a wedding and a couple, yada yada yada, it's all live, happening live, you've got a great shot close to the bride and groom, you need to fly back a little bit to get a nice panning shot, whatever you want to do. It's very quick, very easy to forget just to press one button, and that is something that the standard Phantom 4 you don't have to worry about. Everything's always in focus. So this quick review has turned into quite a long review, but let's have a look at the footage. Looking at the Phantom 4 standard footage first, and it's a very standard affair. It looks pretty good, albeit a little bit shaky, but it is very windy. I guess I'm looking at the trees, maybe the tops of the houses. Not seeing very much sharpness there, but it doesn't look bad. I guess you could use this and people would be happy with it. Moving over to the Phantom 4 Pro Plus, and you can see it's out of focus. It's a good job I spotted this, because it's not so easy to spot, and it's a mistake that can be made. All I had to do is click into the distance to focus further away, which I've done. What you see now is a much better footage, in my opinion. Lots of sharpness in the trees, detail in the trees, the rooftops are much sharper. That footage just looks more stable, more pro to me. Really nice. I'm sure I could bring that out more in post. Looking at the Phantom 4 standard, and this to me looked a bit bland. Not because of the colours, but I think the further you get into the distance, the less detail there is, or the messier it is. Very over processed. So I wasn't too impressed with the Phantom 4 footage here. Moving on to the Phantom 4 Pro Plus footage, and this is where I think it's miles apart. This is much more detailed. There's so much more information further in the distance, and that looks like a professional image almost. And again, just adding a bit of color correction to that, maybe to bring the trees out, and it would look so much better. So that was a very quick overview of the two products, the Phantom 4 and the Phantom 4 Pro Plus. I hope the quick review was informative. It was rushed. Apologies, and it was a bit shaky because it's done on a phone. But I've only got a couple of hours, as I stated earlier. So for the test, the two images, they only got one chance to shine. So if the settings were wrong, apologies, but they were both set to 1080p, not 4K. I've seen the 4Ks, and the 4K on the Phantom 4 Pro Plus is much better. But the reason I kept it 1080p was because we're all probably viewing it 1080p on YouTube, so we didn't want to add the compression of going from 4K to 1080p, which could take away some from the image. So, recommendations. Which one should I buy? I'm gonna definitely buy the Phantom 4 Pro Plus. There's no getting away from that screen, which is extremely sharp. There's no getting away from the footage, which is much better. And the fact that in several of the modes on the Phantom 4 Pro Plus, all the sensors are activated. So, and which I've tested as well. You literally can't crash into anything, which is very handy, especially if you're clumsy and you've crashed drones before. They're very expensive. So, if you brought yourself a Phantom 4 standard and you spent £700-800 on it and you crashed it, well, obviously you're not going to be too happy. But if you spend more money on a Phantom 4 Pro Plus, yes, it is more money, but it just doesn't want to crash into things. Like I say, sensors on all sides and underneath as well. It is just very hard to crash. And yeah, like I say, I've tried to run into a few trees and a few bushes and hedges, and it just doesn't seem to want to go, go close. So there's a bonus point to be had there. The Phantom 4 standard is a very poor upgrade from the Phantom 3. There is almost no difference in picture quality. All you're really doing is paying for front-facing sensor, collision sensors, I think. And maybe, a prettier design, but who can really see it when it's so far in the air? As usability goes, I couldn't see any difference. I still had artifacting, I had a very unstable connection, as you saw in the quick test as well, and we had no issues with the Phantom 4 Pro Plus in the whole test. Being the newer product, you would think it might have one or two issues, but there were some firmware updates, and they've sorted everything out. So hopefully that was informative. Any comments you have, please leave them, but in my opinion, the Phantom 4 Pro Plus is a good couple of years ahead of the Phantom 4, and it probably should have been the real true upgrade from the Phantom 3 to the Phantom 4 Pro Plus. Like I said, I hope it's been informative. Any comments, please leave them below, and hopefully I'll have another review for you soon, one less shaky. Thank you.